That's what Henry Morton Stanley played. He's going into the Congo. To keep me from exploiting the riches of your indigenous population. Hello. Welcome to Question Block.
Hi.
This is Secret Loft's educational history comedy podcast. So we'll try to tell you just enough history that you can learn something to talk about, but keep it interesting.
Who are you?
I am Wires, DJ Wires, also Wires of NYC on Instagram, but you can call me Alex. And today, for those of you watching our visual, the video recording, I am dressed as, I guess, Captain Cook, because the Admiral's hat, but I have a shirt, a homemade shirt that commemorates the Mayflower. And the reason I'm dressed like this is because we're talking about explorers.
Yes.
Who are you?
I'm Ariel Iasevoli. And I guess I'm Amelia Earhart.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, at Ariel.ist.
You're sort of an aerial explorer in your own right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't look up to anyone because I look down upon everyone.
Oh, yeah, much like Amelia Earhart.
Yes.
Nice. All right, cool. I'm connecting our Twitch over here. So, introduce us. What are we going to talk about today? You looked up details on you got lots of notes.
Yes. So we're going to, happy Mountain Day, by the way.
Oh, today's officially Mountain Day.
Today is officially Mountain Day, which is why we're doing this.
Oh, why is today Mountain Day?
It's a Japanese holiday, and the character for the 11, it looks like mountain or something, and they're like mountains aren't appreciated enough, so today is like the day to appreciate them. So that's what we're doing, but we're not just talking about mountain expeditions. We're talking about...
It's actually, if I can interrupt,
yeah.
Since I have studied basic Mandarin, and they have the same number characters, the characters for 8/11, August 11th, 8 looks a little bit like a mountain, and 11 looks like a flower or tree.
That's
it's sort
so
of
cute.
like a cross with like a line next to it. So it's very cute. So yeah, officially Mountain Day.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about mountains, the ocean, the land.
Yeah. So we've picked out what we feel are the most entertaining explorers to talk about. So really, as long as there's been undiscovered stuff, there have been explorers, obvio. But, and like most exploration journals and everything is written from like a European white perspective, because like you don't discover Africa when there's like people living there already, but from the point of view of like, people in the 1800s, then yes, you've discovered it.
I have unwritten records though, so we're going to be covering everything. Speak for yourself with your Eurocentric written records.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you want to kick it off? Tell us about a couple explorers.
So we're going to just go through the history of exploration in general, and then we'll make some pit stops at the most exciting ones. A lot of them are like disastrous, so they're extra exciting. They'll like scratch that true crime disaster itch that everyone has that I don't really understand. But
okay, you're saying there's going to be a lot of failures.
Yes.
You don't explore stuff without potentially dying of like dengue fever on the way. Okay.
And if you have anything to like pop in here.
Oh, those of us if you're following along on Twitch,
but also
or Instagram.
you.
Oh, me. I see.
Okay. All right. So the first explorer that people talk about is Harkuf, who is an Egyptian who went to Sudan. Then just the Phoenicians, which I don't think they're talking about people from Phoenix. I assume
Yeah,
not.
a bunch of retirees from
Yeah,
Phoenix, from like
maybe.
Sun City,
You never
Arizona.
know.
Okay.
They were an ancient naval company who went as far as Morocco, which is very far from Arizona. So, good job. Um, the 6th century BCE, there was this guy named Hanno the Navigator, which is such a cool name, and he went to the west coast of Africa. Then there was Pythias.
Hanno the Navigator was from. He's a Greek guy. Getting
He's
down
like,
the.
I feel like he's Mesopotamian or something. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Greek, because the first Greek guy is Pythias,
Yeah.
who went to Northern Europe.
Which is far. That's very far from like Greece, right?
Yeah.
Like an island in the Mediterranean, like, or peninsula, I suppose. Yeah.
Then Polynesians, your people,
Because I'm Hawaiian. Yeah.
they invented this really cool canoe.
The dugout canoe.
Yeah.
Not
See,
to be
they are.
confused with the dugout like weed pipe smoking device.
They were smoking. I feel like they were smoking that. I feel like they were just chill smoking the pipe on the canoe. And they explored Australia. They had heaps explorations in Australia.
Yeah, the Polynesians get insanely far, right? And they like, the theory is like, right, people like got to Easter Island in the middle of like the Pacific, like, hundreds or thousands of years before like Europeans discovered it. So they were like, they had very good canoes, or they were just really good at canoeing and could
They
go
were just
very
really
far.
high.
Yeah, I guess so. Because to go that far out to sea is like you need to bring a bunch of food with you and water and stuff.
They had Spam, so
Okay,
You know.
and spam and pineapples.
yeah, pineapples doubled as weapons. It was great. Then I guess this like overlaps. 890 to 1040, there were the Vikings.
Yeah. So
They were just discovering everything.
So let's talk about the Vikings,
Yes.
right? Because everybody likes to point out that Leif Erikson was the first European to set foot in the Americas.
Well, actually, this goes back 2 more generations. So Nadadar discovered Iceland, and as we know, Iceland isn't like as we know, Greenland is the cold one. Iceland is like the poor one with the volcanoes. So, but
Iceland has what, great pop music in Bjork,
true,
right?
that as well.
And Sigur
Yeah.
Rós.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have little like
Very twee pop band,
elfin
top
instruments.
electro bands.
But Nadadar, but Iceland is kind of a misnomer for it, I feel like. But Nadadar named it Iceland because he was like, "Yo, it's cold. I don't like it." He like, but I also don't get this because I feel like Vikings are also from cold places. But yeah, he was like,
Yeah, they're from like Scandinavia originally.
Yeah, so
so
I
they
don't know
kind of
what
go
he-
west into the North Sea, and then they're like, okay, there's more ice over here.
yeah, maybe they thought it would be warm because it was like sunny there all the time.
Okay.
Perhaps. But and then like his relative or like descendant was Eric the Red because he was a redhead.
Yeah,
So you could also be Eric the Red.
I know. That's why I read up on Eric the Red
Yeah.
and Leif Erikson.
Oh, do you want to talk about Eric the Red?
Well, Eric the Red was just like, I mean, he was like I guess like a king or like village chieftain or whatever, who did some exploring, and I don't know that he discovered it, but he moved to Greenland.
He discovered it.
Okay,
And he
discovered
called it
Greenland
Greenland
and then moved there.
because he called it Greenland. Also a misnomer because there's nothing fucking green in Greenland because it's cold. It's very cold. But he called it that to like encourage people to come
He
there.
wanted people to go there.
He was a businessman.
Yeah, he's like, Iceland sucks, but let's all
Yeah.
move to Greenland, where it's pretty much the same, but called Greenland. So, yeah, so young Leif was like 5 years old or whatever, and his family moved from Iceland to Greenland in the year like 1000. And Leif Erikson traveled around some, spent some time with like met some like Christian missionaries, and converted to Christianity. And then Eric the Red was not having it. He like disowned him, or there was a big inter-family squabble. Leif Erikson's mom was like on board with it because like I think it was just cold and sucked, and so they were like, well, Christianity at least promises us like a nice afterlife. Yggdrasil. If you go back and listen to our World Tree Viking Norse mythology episode, you can learn about their afterlife. But anyway, so Leif Erikson then goes out exploring himself, and it's unclear. There's like records, but obviously like 1,000 years old, so they've been destroyed or whatnot. But like apparently some other fisherman told Leif Erikson he'd been blown off course in a storm, and there was land further to the west of Greenland. And so Leif Erikson went to go find it, and he did. And then there's another story that they also think is maybe apocryphal or not true, that he discovered 2 stranded fishermen and helped them out, which would mean those guys were the first Europeans to set foot in North America, but they're not sure.
They were actually Jesus.
Oh, okay.
The fishermen, get it?
Yeah. So...
Well, what did he call? He was super creative with his naming.
Well, he apparently, it was very like, because he was in Newfoundland, right?
That's what he called it.
He called it Vinland.
Oh, okay. Which I thought that translated to Newfoundland. Okay. Like
I think Newfoundland is just newfound land.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think that Vinland means like fresh and young, and so I think that
I think he called it, supposedly, depends on your, I mean, I don't know what podcast you listen to get ready for this podcast.
I read books.
Oh, okay. He apparently there were a bunch of grapevines, and there was like wild wheat and grapes growing in that area of Newfoundland. And so that's why he called it Vinland. And then I guess he traveled around some more, tried to establish a colony. Obviously it like didn't last that long, because then the Vikings later just sort of forgot about it, or just didn't bother to tell the rest of the Europeans about.
They were like, we have operas to go be in. No.
Yeah, somehow like word did not get to, the Spaniards or Italians or anyone else. So they later rediscovered, North America like 500 years later.
They're like, we have a meeting with Wagner. See you later.
They were busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about that then. As the age of exploration continued, because the Vikings just didn't tell anyone, or word didn't get out.
Yeah, they didn't. They were like chill. They were like, whatever, it's fine.
Oh, I was gonna say that he did meet like natives. Leif Erikson did. He didn't just show up in uninhabited land or whatever. He met natives, and I think it like went reasonably well. They were able to like trade. They didn't it didn't descend into fighting like right away or anything. But yeah, the Vikings just sort of knew about it, and they're like, all right, there's land over there, but we're busy enough over here in Greenland, so we'll stick with that.
Such a dumb place to live. Oh man, so cold. Have you seen the beds there? It literally looks like it's like a coffin, because it's like a coffin of blankets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Well, I think the raiding was a lot better too. If they wanted to go raiding like the British Isles or like other like, European coastal cities, were much easier to like go attack and like take slaves from than trying to get all the way back to North America.
Yeah. Well, the next person that I have time-wise is, I'm sure there's stuff in between here, but the next person that people know, is Marco Polo.
Yes.
Inventor of the famous pool game. Yeah. This I think is very funny, because it's been like put this way a lot, that in 1269, the sexiest of years, Marco Polo has the first written records of China, which I think is hilarious, because I'm like, don't the Chinese have, because they invented like paper and writing.
Yeah, weren't the Chinese just keeping their own records?
And they had like court and whatnot. But yeah, he's the first non-Chinese person to like write about China.
Yeah, we said at the beginning, like, this is all from the standpoint of like a British historian in the like Royal Academy of Explorers who's writing this stuff up, because that's kind of the lens through which a lot of history is written. So for that guy, he's like, yeah, Marco Polo discovered China. It didn't exist before then, and he wrote about it. So that's important.
Yeah, that's kind of all I have about him.
Why did he go to China?
So I feel like in this period, they were trying to figure out ways to get. There's like the later
Northwest Passage.
yeah, the Northwest Passage. There's the Northeast Passage. We were just trying to figure out like better ways to get places.
Yeah, like trade and transit were still really important even back then. And so like, right, the Silk Road existed, right? It's been around for a couple thousand years. So like the Chinese had like a whole like export pipeline, and like silk was like a Chinese trade secret, like punishable under like pain of death if you told anyone that like silk came from worms. So like, you know, when they exported silk or tea,
not for lack of trying.
yeah, or you know whatever else, you know, dyes and pigments, gunpowder, whatever. Yeah, it's like there was like, you know, these whole trading caravans going throughout the Middle East, like shipping this stuff. So it wasn't like, it's not like Marco Polo alone by himself going through the desert for like thousands of miles. He's like, it's not a highway, but he's on what's effectively a road, basically, like, you know, traveling in like a caravan with a bunch of like other people and a whole traveling party and horses and camels and stuff. And he's like, you know, being financed by like a government to like figure out these trade routes so that they can send their stuff. Like, I don't know, what were the British exporting at this time? Wool?
I don't know.
So
I don't
they can
really
send
care.
that to China. But it's
yeah.
commerce drove all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm like whatever about Marco Polo. I like him for the pool game. I don't really know a ton more than like that's like his thing that he's known. I think people think that he like discovered America or something, but he didn't.
No, wrong hemisphere.
Yeah, people say that there's like I don't know how that got to be like true or something. Maybe he mistook China for America. I don't know. Anyway, next person I have is in 1325.
Can I give you one aside?
Yeah.
For a fun fictional read involving Marco Polo. There's this book, Invisible Cities, by the Italian, Italo Calvino is his name. And Marco Polo is a character in it, and he's describing all the like crazy cities he's visited. But it's like very fantastical postmodern. So he's like, there's a city where there's like everything underground mirrors everything above ground. And like, so every building they build above ground, they have to dig.
Wait,
out,
but
like,
that's fake though.
It's fake.
Okay.
But
right.
it's very poetic, like nice book to
That's
read.
cool.
All right. Continue.
So there's Ibn Battuta, who's Muslim, and because everyone has to do their pilgrimage to Mecca.
Gotta do the Hajj.
Right?
Yeah.
I think this is so funny though, because he's like the ultimate like kid he's like, I'm just gonna do a gap year. Like he was like, I'm gonna get my dad to like finance my life all the way, because his like Mecca or his like trip to Mecca,
his Hajj trip wasn't just like
he's like
3 months.
You know, I think I'm gonna see like what Asia is about and Europe. So he like traveled everywhere and like wrote about it. He was like the Jack Kerouac of like the Middle East, basically.
Nice. And so this is like 1300s, which is like, and I guess same with Marco Polo, right? It's like the Dark Ages are going on still. Like the Renaissance hasn't happened yet. Yeah. So good for these guys getting out there and traveling.
But they had math. They were like, we have math and we have a good calendar, so like we're good. They don't have Jesus messing around with their math and calendar. So that's probably most of the discoveries and stuff were not European during the Dark Ages. And then in 1405, and we talked about Zhang He and Chang Shi, the pirate queen. Zhang He was like a different pirate dude. But they were, he was Chinese. He was castrated. He was sort of like, what do you call it? Like an indentured servant.
Oh, not so he could sing.
No, maybe you never know.
Okay.
maybe both. But yeah, it was. He was trusted by his, I guess, owner or like commander, naval commander, and then he ended up like taking over that ship, and he traveled to Asia and Africa on huge ships, and he had a crew of 27,000, and his ships were 400 feet long.
Yeah, so there's a picture on the internet of like Genghis. It's called the treasure ship because
Yeah.
they brought insane treasures and gifts as well because they were like, we're gonna go like start a trade route with like these African civilizations, these African kingdoms and stuff. Um, and so they brought like, yeah, tons of gifts. And there's a picture of, I think it's like the Mayflower next to like Genghis treasure ship. Yeah, this sank ass boat, and it's like, yeah, it looks like a little toy, right? The Mayflower is like what 100 feet long, maybe 120 or something, but like, yeah, it just held like 100 people crammed in there. Whereas yeah, Genghis on these 400-foot ships that are just insanely big.
Yeah, and he did really good. But then there was a moment where China was like, "Wait a second, you're being a little extravagant, babe. You're making us look kind of bad." So he was like, "All right, whatever." So he stopped, but he had already like done so much with his life.
Yeah, they signed a bunch of treaties and made all these like deals, but then I guess nothing came of it because China remained isolationist for you know, the next 1,000 years after this.
Oh yeah, interesting like fact that I didn't know about castration. That men who are castrated, I guess that's the only kind of person who can be castrated. Um, they're very tall because it prolongs your, like, when your bones.
Your growth plates
Yeah,
don't
it's
close.
something like that. So he was like super tall and like scary and like crazy. Yeah. Like in a cool, like, I mean crazy in like a good way.
Okay, he was like a Yao Ming of his
Yeah.
time. Okay, yeah, you could fit several basketball courts on a 400-foot ship.
And that he did.
Okay, so Jengi and the treasure ship, the like badass treasure ship.
Yeah. Some people are like he went to America too, but I don't think he did. I don't know.
No, I don't think he got that far.
Because why would you want to? Like, no one like the only people who are going to America, as we will segue to the next person, they like, it was an accident. Like, no one wanted to go to America because like there was nothing.
There's no trade.
No spices. There's no.
These were all economic like trips, right? Undertaken by like, you needed a bunch of money to put a ship together and like a whole crew, and you had to pay them and feed them. So like, there had to be money in it for like the like rulers to like finance this stuff.
America, you are not the trade of the season.
No,
You are not hot.
I think the Jengi and the treasure ship, they stopped at like a couple places in India too. So I think they like.
I said it. Yeah.
The actual Indians, yeah, they like met them in India and then continued on to Africa. But that's far.
Yeah.
But that's still not crossing the Pacific.
So in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. I didn't know that was like there's a whole rhyme. It's a whole rhyme. It's long.
Lame.
Yeah, it's really lame. It's like to teach children about it, but I didn't remember the whole thing. Yeah, so there's this like Guido dude.
So this is where we get into the really like exploitive asshole, like cruel explorers.
I think Columbus was just like a Jersey Shore bro, and he was like, "Yo, I'm looking for." He's like, "I want a western route to Asia," and then he discovered America, and he was like, "I found Asia."
Yeah.
Because he was a lying piece of shit.
And it's just like, the people here look sort of different, but clearly I've arrived in India. This is not what I expected. There are no elephants, but like, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of all that I
He's like,
knew about
yeah,
him.
it's these peaceful, like, spiritual natives who like live amongst the land and like, farm and hunt or whatever, but yeah, probably this is the same as like the giant palaces that I'm supposed to be finding in India.
I think it's cool though that he disproved that like the Earth was flat, right?
Well, if you remember from previous episodes, like Greek mathematicians proved that the Earth disproved
He
the Earth
proved
being
to the
flat.
people that believed that it was flat.
I mean, I suppose right. We already had like Galileo in the astronomers episode,
I
right?
said
Like
he
they knew it wasn't
proved to
flat
the
either.
people that still believed that it was flat that it wasn't.
I
Because
don't
they
know
saw
about that.
him. Okay, let's pretend that he did. I'll tell you how it
I'm
happened.
not giving Columbus the credit for this one.
No, not him. Just like his boat. Like people, they were like arrivederci, and they were like waving. You know, they were like, I think they were like ciao, right? And they were they were waving to him, and they were like, oh my god, his boat is like going over like a curvy thing. That's what I remember. I don't know.
I don't know who taught you that. I don't think that had anything to do with it. Granted, he like you have to believe that the Earth is round if you're gonna head west and hope that you're gonna wind up in India. So I'll give you that. But then like the irony is that he didn't make it to India. He instead hit North America. So he didn't actually prove that you could get to India by going west.
Right? He didn't find the Northwest Passage, I guess. Yeah.
No, that's Henry Hudson, who we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, he wasn't going on this voyage to like prove that the Earth, was flat or not. He was pretty sure it was round and was trying to get to India.
Yeah.
And then I think even then, like, most educated people had a good idea of the size of the Earth even back then, and they were like, even if they didn't know North America was there, if they assumed it was just ocean, they were like, it's too far. You're going to die if you just like head west, because India is like, whatever, 15,000 miles, like west of, where he set off from Spain. Yeah, like west of Spain. But lucky for him, he was wrong, and there was a continent in the way.
He was like, what? He was like, what is this? What are those?
Yeah, so his interactions, I mean, yeah, like his interactions with the natives, right, are like he just enslaved like a couple dozen of them and like took whatever food and stuff he could like quickly pillage and then would like set off for another port or whatever. And he like brought back slaves, like even from his like first early trips. These were like voyages of exploration, but like, yeah, he came back and he was like, oh yeah, here's like 60 natives I captured.
He's like,
like half of them died on the trip back,
he's
but
like,
here's the ones that made it.
Asian.
Yeah, they're Indians, so here you go.
Yeah. But then the real the real European or Spaniard to go to India for real was Vasco da Gama.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so he did that. He was like,
Vasco da Gama, yeah, sailing around South America, which is a pretty long distance. And Tierra del Fuego.
The hot earth. Is that what that means?
Land of Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Even though it's very cold there, because it's the southernmost tip of South America. There's a bunch of penguins.
So dramatic.
Rockhopper penguins. Yeah, cool name though.
So, actual America is discovered by
Amerigo Vespucci.
Vespucci, yeah. And he basically is like, this is not India. I love that he was just categorized it. He was like, you guys, like, quick clarification.
Well, yeah, I think a bunch of people knew that Columbus was a dumbass when he returned, and they're like, this doesn't quite add up. That like, but then Amerigo Vespucci was like, yeah, it's a new continent, and he went and mapped a bunch of it.
He was like, it's named after me, so.
But that's and he did. Well, if you make the map, you get to label stuff, so that's why it's named after him and not Columbus, because Columbus did some like. Everybody had to. If you were on a ship, you had a map maker, you had a cartographer with you because you needed it, because otherwise you'd get lost at sea and die. But Amerigo did way more of the mapping and less of the kidnapping slaves and taking them back to Spain. So good for him. A real gentleman among bloodthirsty genocidal explorers.
Can you imagine if like architects today, like if people's If people's lives like depended on them to like draw up a blueprint, like everyone in this fucking city would be dead.
Wait, they do. What are you talking about?
I mean, like,
Do you not?
well, if it was like time bound the way that it was, like at sea, they're like, we need the map now, and they're like, I'm gonna take a day off. I'm gonna need to wait for the Department of Ships to approve
Department of
this.
Ships to approve my map.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's pretty much how it works these days. You got to draw a picture or something.
Yeah.
Before you can.
To dream, to
before you can
imagine.
build it. Yeah.
Okay, so then we have Magellan.
Magellan?
I say Magellan because, yeah, it like rhymes with his first name. Yeah.
How do you pronounce his first name?
I forget. But I heard, I was like, oh yeah, that's so cool. I totally forgot what his first name is. It's like, it's just a regular name.
Is it Ferdinand? Ferdinand Magellan.
Ferdinand Magellan. Yeah, it has like a better sound to it. Okay. So I'm gonna say Magellan.
That doesn't rhyme. Okay. All right. So we're off the Spaniards. Yeah. Oh, Chef Mackie on Twitch. Chef Mackie on Twitch wants you to know it is Ferdinand. Anyway.
Oh, it's Ferdinand.
Yeah, it doesn't rhyme like Ferdinand the Bull. So we're off the Spanish explorers though, and we're off the Italians. He is Portuguese.
Okay.
So
he speaks that fancy Spanish that makes you feel like you can't speak Spanish.
Yeah. Well, and during this whole era too is that like ships are how you get around. Like that's long distance travel. Everything has to be by ship. This is, well before railroads or steam engines or anything are invented. And horses are like very slow and really can't haul much stuff, and you have to feed them compared to a ship where you've just got the wind blowing you around wherever you want to go. So if you wanted to haul anything big or, a ton of treasure or people or something, it was all ships. So that's why all of these guys are sailors.
Yeah, so he wanted to circumnavigate the world. He wanted to go all around the world. He wanted to follow his Daft Punk dreams and go around the world. But he had no idea how big the Pacific was. He also had no idea how rough it was because he named it the Pacific. Because he was like, what a calm ocean this is.
Certain parts of it, sure.
Yeah. So basically where everything seems to go to shit is Guam. It's like so many of these ship things, everything's going fine, then they get to Guam and they're like, uh-oh. They're like, yikes.
Well, yeah, I think there's like certain islands around there where the natives will like really don't like outsiders, and so they will kill you or attack you, and you can't stop there to get food or water. So that's probably part of it. And then I guess the currents are probably pretty rough, and there's like storm, depending on the time of the year, there's like bad storms.
It's like calling it the Pacific was a bad idea. They're like, it's already written, it's in the books.
And all these places too, there's like there's like diseases that like none of these Europeans have ever encountered, and this is before you can get your malaria vaccine or anything. So just routinely, far more than the natives, it would just be like you'd show up at a new place and you just get sick and die within we'll see this again with all the explorers in Africa too. There's just all sorts of really horrible tropical diseases that if you're not from there, you're like susceptible to.
His main thing though was like he just really had no idea how big the ocean was. He was like, oh, it's fine. So he just didn't bring enough food and like provisions. Like actually a lot of the future people, they're like, we're gonna bring so much stuff, and like that's where they went wrong. But he went wrong. He's like, I'm just gonna bring one bag. I'm just gonna bring my purse,
Magellan backlight,
some mints, nothing too heavy. I'm trying, I want to look snatched when I get back home. So his people are just really fucking hungry, and they were like eating their own ship, which I think is like hilarious. Like they were like, okay, what on this ship can we eat? Like they were like, let's eat some leather, and then they were like, ooh, if it gets like moldy, we can like eat the mold and like the lichen and the maggots and stuff. And then there's definitely like a diary entry.
They were eating the leather on the ship?
Yeah.
Like the upholstery?
Yeah, okay. They were eating the upholstery.
And there's a conversation in our Twitch actually about that because Anne of Chelsea pointed out you can eat a horse if you're traveling by horse. And Chef
Yeah.
Maki said you can eat a ship.
Yeah, so they are just like, we are gonna eat this whole goddamn ship. They also definitely drank their own pee, and there's diary entries about this, and they say it was, we drank like we drank like water from a source that we will not name that was yellow. Like they're like basically describing it, but they're not saying that it's their pee. It was definitely their pee. And yeah, they were like getting scurvy and stuff like that. And then they somehow got to the Philippines, and then Magellan was killed. And his boy,
I think speared.
Yeah.
He caught a spear to the chest from some natives who were not welcoming. Yeah.
Yeah. So his boy Juan Sebastian, who had a way sexier name, he finished the journey. So he's like the first person to circumnavigate.
Oh.
Yeah, he finished it, but he doesn't get any of the credit because I don't know. Oh, because Magellan had like some deal with like King Ferdinand or something, and he was like, "We have the same name, so it's gonna be me, even if I die."
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what happened.
Well, he was like the leader of the voyage, and he made it 3/4 of the way. So
Yeah, but
you give him some credit.
His boy though.
Yeah, I know a lot about the long distance seafaring from reading Moby Dick, and so there was a lot of like, you would just pack barrels and barrels of like water, and also barrels and barrels of like salted beef was like the thing.
Beef
And
jerky,
they wouldn't.
Jack Links.
You could fish, of course, but like they didn't. At least in like Moby Dick, the whaling ships, like they don't. They're just eating beef and like hardtack, or like biscuits or whatever, like super hard biscuits, and that's kind of it. And it sucks. And then from another book, the How to Invent Everything book, we learned about scurvy. That like the British Navy like discovered a cure for scurvy like 4 or 5 separate times over the course of like 300 years of seafaring. Like somebody would figure it out, and there are stories of like sailors even would plant oranges or like limes on certain islands, and so that then they knew they could like come back and stop there and like eat and prevent scurvy.
What happens if you get scurvy?
Oh, what are the symptoms of it?
Yes. How do we know that we don't have scurvy?
I mean, it's caused by a vitamin C deficiency.
But what are the symptoms?
I don't know. Exhaustion, being really pale.
What are they?
I would guess it's kind of like anemia or whatever, which you could also get. Yeah, getting like an iron deficiency. But I think it's just that. I think you just get very sickly.
Your teeth fall out. I feel like your teeth fall out.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
You say arg a lot.
Oh, your gums bleed. According to Anne of Chelsea, your gums bleed. Yeah, so don't get it.
Just don't get it. Just don't do it.
Just
don't.
Yeah, bring some lime juice.
Is that, oh my God, is that why drinks like have lime juice? Did they like invent, they're like, you know what goes really good in a dark and stormy? Some lime.
Yeah, that is a big reason why a lot of like drinks from
Pirate drinks
have like lime to go with like the rum, which was from like the sugar, right, in like the Caribbean, and that's why the British have gin and tonics, because the tonic was the quinine was good to like supposedly, although I don't think in the levels you get from gin and tonic, but quinine supposedly helps with malaria. So if you're out here like imperializing India, you drink gin and tonics, and it helps with the malaria.
That's cute. Okay. So then I have Hernan Cortez and Francisco Navarro. They just commit genocide.
Oh, so we're going back to the conquerors, basically. Yeah.
They're right around here. They go in here, I think.
Yeah, well, right, I'm just saying Magellan, he's like a navigator,
yeah,
right? Vasco da Gama, he's a cartographer, navigator. Yeah. But now we're going back. Like when you get to Cortez, these are like the butchers. These are like the real assholes. Yeah, I'm just mentioning
them. Is this just chronological?
Oh, I know. I'm just saying they're interspersed. It's very funny how different like explorers like kind of like Do you think it's their like the mission they were sent on, or is that their own personal like predilection? Is like, yeah, I'm gonna go like butcher and subjugate this.
I think
these
it's
people.
because Magellan failed and he was mad
But
hungry, so
but
he
he
couldn't
would've.
kill. I think if he could, I think if he brought more snacks, then he maybe would also have killed people.
If
He
gi-
seems like the kind of guy.
if given the chance.
Yeah, Magellan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us
got
about
them.
about Cortez.
I don't. They're just terrible. So we won't talk about them. They just kill. They just kill.
I mean, we studied Cortez. We read about or talked about Cortez some, and I don't
On
know
a
if we
podcast
recorded
that was
episode.
never recorded.
Oh, okay. But when we talked about the Aztecs, Incas, and Mayas,
Yeah.
the South American empires, yeah, Cortez, basically like both, befriending and tricking, and then like conquering and decimating the Aztecs.
Okay. So then we have William Barons. This is like a really funny failed expedition. That's really awesome and funny and hilarious.
Oh, I didn't know he was so far back. William Barents is like our first Arctic explorer.
Yeah, well, because they're looking. He's looking for the Northeast Passage. So the Northeast Passage would be a way to get to China. That's like above
yeah.
instead of around like South America.
You
It's
go
like,
up and over.
yeah. And everyone was like, they're like, we know it's somewhere. We know that it exists, but we just don't know
I
where
think
it
they had no
is."
idea of the extent of like Siberia too, like how far west Russia goes. Because to get to China, you have to get around like there's a lot of Asia in the way to get there.
So,
But yeah, the idea is you can go if you fly in a plane. That's kind of how you do it. You go over the Arctic Circle.
he didn't have a plane.
No, but I thought all the Arctic explorers are like, 1800s.
No.
Barents this is 1560s.
Yeah, it's really funny. So he's looking for the Northeast Passage, right? The first time he found, they found a polar bear, and they thought it was just like a regular bear. So they were like, let's put it on our ship and take it back and like maybe put it in the circus. And then they're like, dude, we should turn back. It's like not looking good, but we'll take like a polar bear with us because it'll be like a fun souvenir. And the polar bear like went on a rampage on the boat, and they were like, oh no, big mistake. So
Polar bears are like compared to other bears too. They're like huge. Polar bears are like twice the size of other regular bears.
they're like, it's a big white bear.
Do you want to hear the the mnemonic device for remembering which bears to fight and which to avoid?
I thought it was just like you just have to outrun your friend. I thought that was how you
That's a
survive
good one
bears.
too. No, they apparently if it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back. If it's white, good night.
Aw.
There's your bear facts for this episode. Bears
Yeah.
also like exploring.
They teach you that in Boy Scouts.
Continue. No,
you
I
win a
read
badge
it.
for that?
I read it on the internet, and I don't.
The
know
bear
if-
badge.
I don't know if it's true, and please nobody go out and fight with a bear. to, like, figure out.
Wait. Is this also how you deal with bears in the gay community?
Oh, nice. Yeah, if it's a white bear.
Good.
Yeah,
good night.
one of those older bears. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good morning, ladies. Good
Good
morning. The polar bear on the boat didn't go too well. The second time, because I guess whoever was funding the Brits, they were like, yeah, go again. So the second time, that polar bear's like brother was hanging out, and he was like, I'm gonna attack the ship. So the ship got attacked by a polar bear, and they had to go back. And then there was a third time that the Barons expedition happened, and the third time their ship got trapped in the ice, which this is like a reoccurring theme. Like mad ships get trapped in the ice. So the ship got trapped in the ice, and then they built a cabin out of their ship, and then they lived on the ice until their ship defrosted, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Barents Sea is basically if you're in the Atlantic and sort of just keep going north, you like hit the Arctic Ocean, right? And then you start seeing all these icebergs and ice floes or whatever. And then eventually your ship just runs into ice as Barents did.
Bo and Yang, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, as a Titanic notably found out. But yeah, so it's funny because so many of these explorers are, and this isn't, I don't think, just our cynical reading on it. It's like you had to be really crazy to undertake these kind of voyages back then, and they seem like dumbasses. Like who puts a polar bear on a ship? And they didn't they didn't bring like the animal tranquilizer or anything. They just like,
It was an impulse bear. It was an
impulse
impulse bear.
It's like, get on the ship. We're all drunk. We've got all this. We're drinking all this lime juice and rum. Yeah. Anyway, so this guy has a sea named after him. The guy who put a polar bear on his boat. Yeah, the Barents Sea is where the Arctic Ocean meets the Atlantic Ocean.
That's where his ship house was.
Probably where his ship
where he
got
lived.
Stuck. Yeah. So east of Greenland, sort of in the North Sea. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever wonder what's like north of Scandinavia, it's the Barents Sea.
And then 1580, Francis Drake circumnavigates the world in a single mission. Francis Drake is like a super cool pirate dude, but he also had slaves. He wasn't that cool, I guess. Yeah. Do you have anything about him? That's kind of all I have.
About who?
Francis Drake.
Francis Drake? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have too much info about Francis Drake.
But he was like the the true beauty of the circumnavigation game.
Why is that? Because he did it in one.
Yeah.
One
well,
nonstop
because
trip.
Magellan's other dude like did it, right? But like Drake did it, and he was like, I will have everyone know about this. Yeah. He was kind of like a pirate kind of guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, and then we have another failed one. Another creepy. This is a creepy one. Are you ready for a creepy one?
Yeah.
A creepy failure.
I love that we're just like Francis Drake is like he was competent and pretty much accomplished his goal and then retired. He whereas Barents is just like total fuck up. But yeah. So tell me about this creepy ghost colony.
Roanoke, the Roanoke colony.
The Roanoke.
Sounds like a camp. It sounds like a camp horror movie.
So I'm from Virginia, and we study Virginia history in 4th grade, including like Jamestown and like, granted Williamsburg is in Maryland, but like whatever. And then we read about Roanoke. And so which just is like a city in Virginia, but you read about historic Roanoke and like the vanished colonists.
Do you want to tell us about it? If you studied it?
No, you can tell us the story.
So
story of Roanoke.
Walter Rowley, he was like, okay, we're gonna set up a colony in Virginia.
Okay.
And so like he went over there, set everything up, and then he's like, oh, hang on a second, I have to like go back. I gotta go back home real quick. I forgot my keys. Something. I left the toaster on. So he like went back, and then he went back to England, and they were like, oh yeah, we're having like a war right now. Could you stay and like help us? And he was like, sure. So he didn't get to come back to his colony for about 3 years. And when he came back, there were just like some creepy bones, and he was like, uh-oh.
And they had carved in a tree.
No. Not yet. This happened.
Who carved in the tree?
Not yet. That's to come. That is to come. So there were just some creepy bones.
All right, we'll get to the tree.
Right. So then he was like, oh crap, I gotta like set up more people. So this second colony he was like, let's get some children here. They were like, let's get some people who want to have sex on the colony so they can like have multi generations. Because he's like, probably what happened was we just had like some old people and they died. Surely Roanoke colony isn't haunted. So the new like settlers that he sent over there was much more like young and like sexier group. And then he was like, all right, hang on, I forgot my keys again. So kind of like the same thing happened. So he comes back this time and there's nothing there. Like there's not even bones, but there is a carving on the tree and it says Nevermore. No, what does it say? I forget.
It said Croatoa. And he's like, what the fuck is that? And then like nobody ever figured it out.
He's
They're
like, wait.
Like, did they
He's like, I have a tattoo.
Did they move to a new colony? Is this some sort of code? And it's like, yeah.
This is how the movie Memento, the inspiration.
By the way, Sir Walter Raleigh, to like for a little background, right? He's trying to found the first permanent English settlement. So this is before Jamestown. He's like trying to like, yeah, they're trying to set up a settlement there. So that's why. And then everybody just dies twice,
yeah.
I guess.
Well, that's the thing. The first time he's like, yikes, there's bones. And the second time he's like, yikes, there's no bones.
Yeah, so known as the Lost Colony.
But he was like, yeah, we built like structures and stuff, and like that shit is gone. It's like gone. There's not a trace of it. It's like literally vanished. What do you think happened? Do you think he just like forgot where he put it? Because he's forgot his keys an awful.
No, the
awful
theory
lot of
is that
times.
it's like it's like the natives or whatever like were trading like peacefully and things went bad and like who knows, the colonists stepped out of line. Maybe they like flashed the wrong gang sign. Something went bad, and so they got wiped out, or just like, fever or like death or whatever. Like they all caught some disease or something.
But why would their houses go? That's the crazy thing is like the structure. There's no like sign of the structures.
Maybe mid-Atlantic hurricane season came by. It was like an early Hurricane Sandy.
Spooky. Maybe they burned the fire. They were like, "Yo, we need some firewood."
Oh, Croatoan, it was called. Yeah. Oh no, it was found carved into the palisade of their fort, which was abandoned. So their fort did survive.
Well, there was like a second tree or a second like carving that started to say it was like
there
Croatoan, and there's another one that was like Crow.
There's an island called Croatoan Island.
And so he was like, maybe they went there, but then he was like, oh, I forgot something at home again, and he didn't like have a chance to go check. No, actually, he was that time he was like on the ship of like someone else, and that dude was like, we've already made like a stop for you. We're not gonna go to like Croatoa. He's like, I hate that place. We got to go to like where I was going. It was like an Uber pool, and they were like, I'm not making an extra stop. That's what happened with the Croatoa. So he never got to go like check out Croatoa, sadly.
Rough seas and a lost anchor, apparently. So he couldn't do a rescue mission. He lost his anchor.
That sucks.
Yeah, he's like, even if I get there, I can't stop the boat. So what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that don't be Sir Walter. Sir Walter Raleigh made it out okay, but
yeah.
Also, yeah, if the leader of your colony who's like established it has to leave for a bit, don't
go with him.
Go with. Yeah, it very much is like a horror movie, like setup.
Yeah. Then in 1607, Henry Hudson.
Yeah, Hudson Bay Company.
Yeah, Hudson Bay. He really fucked up, but he ended up finding the Hudson River, and it's not even a river; it's an estuary. So he also fucked up with that, but he was kind of cool. But that's what he did. Yeah,
just a lot of sailing around the ice, basically.
Yeah.
In the Hudson Bay.
And he was like, "This is a river," but he forgot to realize that like it's also fed by a sea. He forgot to taste that water.
That's salty water.
How's everything tasting? A little salty.
Yeah.
Henry Hudson. Yeah. He's I like the alliteration, his name. Good job on the name, sir.
Yeah, I guess this theme starts to emerge where you've now got in the Explorers starting like the 1600s where you've got the like the conquerors, conquistadors, or whatever, who just totally savage and rape and like wreck the native populations and enslave them. You've got the colonizers who try to just displace them gently, right? Soft genocide, if you will. And then you've got still basically the only decent people in this like, long run
Norwegians.
of white guys is the Arctic explorers, because they're at least exploring where no one is.
Well, not the British Arctic explorers. They're bad. It's just the Norwegians.
Okay.
The Norwegians are good. The Arctic, the British ones are like the super bad. We'll get into those guys very soon. Oh, here's just a really LOL one is the Darien scheme. I just think this is so hilarious. Like, bless you, Scottish people.
Oh, yeah, there's a Hudson River, right? You've been in Henry Hudson's River, haven't you?
I literally just said it's an estuary, not a river.
No, but I guess I think of the Hudson Bay as being like much further north, right? Do his river and his bay connect?
Yes. That.
Oh, I didn't even know.
I have a mic now and I want to turn it off. No. I literally was like making that joke because the Hudson River is not a river. It's an estuary.
Got it.
That was like the second joke that I made about him.
Oh, because the Atlantic's flowing into it.
Yes. Also, if you taste it, it's salty.
I've never tasted the water.
I took a class on the ecosystem where they made us like lick a leaf that was like growing in the water. I don't know. It was like they were like lick this reed, this grass. And they were like, it's salty.
You were like out at Chelsea Piers, just like
Yeah.
licking the pilings.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Mom, for that. That's what they did with me when I went to gymnastics camp at Chelsea Piers.
Can we jump through a couple, by the way? We're running a little short on time. How are we doing in your... We got so many left.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to jump through them. You're the one
right.
who keeps repeating the shit that
right,
I have
let's
like
hear
very short anecdotes. Just
All right, let's
All
hear
right.
your anecdote.
The Darien scheme. The Scottish people had the great idea to set up a territory in Panama, but they had no clue what to do because they were like, oh, the British people are like conquering. We want to do that too. So they went to Panama, and then they were like, fuck, we don't know how to do like warm weather at all. And basically 300 out of 1,200 of them survived. And the ones who did survive, they like went back to Scotland and they were shamed.
Okay.
Then
Oh, it almost bankrupted Scotland. They spent a whole lot of money to get
because
this
they did like they did a GoFundMe.
They spent a ton of money on it.
Because
so it,
they
like,
did a
caused
GoFundMe
national
and people
hardship.
were like,
okay,
yes,
next.
yeah. James Cook, he was like in the Caribbean a lot. That was cool.
You're really selling Cook short because he was the first like European to I guess interact with meet the Hawaiians. So in Hawaii, there's a bunch of like stuff like piles of rocks basically and plaques commemorating James Cook.
James Hook.
Sorry, James
Yeah.
Captain Hook.
And then they
James Cook. Cook also like he went farther than any I guess explorer cartographer before him. So he is very famous and like revered for being like very daring. Still kind of an asshole in his interactions with the natives. The Hawaiians, he encountered them a couple times. The first time they revered him as a god and were like super nice to him and gave him supplies and food and everything. One of his trips, he went and proved that New Zealand was an island by just sailing around it.
That's cool.
Because they didn't know. He like mapped a lot of Australia. They thought there might be other continents down there because nobody really knew about what was going on down there. So yeah, Cook, really great sailor. And then apparently what did him in was he came back to hang out with the Hawaiians and he had some bad luck and hit like a storm. His ships got damaged. Things just weren't going well.
Then someone killed him.
Yeah, he arrived kind of bedraggled and beat up in front of the Hawaiians, and they were insulted by this, apparently, either because they were like, you're not a god.
He lost that runway, basically. And
Yeah.
they said, you're going to lip sync for your life. And then they were like, you do not stay. And they killed him. They said goodbye.
All right. For those of our listeners who don't watch Drag Race, what Ariel's saying is that like his halo got dented, basically. And
I'm
so
kind of good. They'll get it. They'll understand.
Yeah, either the fact that he wasn't actually a deity, or just if they still believed he was their god, but they were like, oh no, but you're a bad god. Anyway, they then killed him. They like got really pissed off and killed him. But yeah, Cook 3 famous expeditions that are each worthy of their own like full book. Pretty wild navigating he did.
Okay, then there's Sacagawea. She like schools Lewis and Clark. There you go. And then there's Hugh Glass, who is like the true revenant, and he just has like a revenge story. He did get mauled by a bear and then left for dead, and he got left for dead like so many more times.
As played by Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant.
And he never got to. He wanted to like revenge. He wanted to kill the person who left him, but that guy actually ended up dying. So
I don't know that he's really an explorer. He's more like a tracker and a trapper and a woodsman. I'd call him a woodsman.
He was an explorer though, but he got
derailed.
He got derailed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. And then he was like, going into the beaver trade. Then we have the Donner Party, which a lot of people don't know. There's a lot of like fake stuff about the Donner Party. Because basically in the diaries of there's a shortcut. There's the Hastings cutoff shortcut, which Lanford Hastings, which is like, you don't believe some guy with that with that name to begin with. He wrote this book and he was like, you should definitely take this shortcut, but he had like never taken the shortcut and he like didn't know anything. So Donner's family like took the shortcut. Reed, the party was also Reed, but he was like, I'm not going to take the shortcut. I would take the scenic. No one in Reed's family died. That's why no one knows about him. No one really cares about him because the Donner Party, though, in their diaries, they say that they ate people, but like when the people died, like they thought about like killing people and they couldn't do it, and they thought about having a duel, but they couldn't do it. But they were like, okay, if someone just dies and you're not related to them, you could eat them. And it says that in their diary, but there's no forensic evidence of it. The only like semi evidence is there's this one guy that they rescued. His name was Louis Keysburg, and he was found with like all these, according to sources, he was found with corpses like around him, just like blood, like he was just like cooking like blood and like eating just like body parts and stuff. And he had gone a little bit crazy.
That's enough.
Right?
They weren't even explorers.
Well,
they weren't even going anywhere.
They were trying to go to California.
They were trying to go from Chicago. Well, they were from Illinois. They were trying to go from Illinois to California. It's like very Oregon Trail.
It is, yeah.
But I don't even count them as explorers. I think they're just like bad travelers.
Well, this was an expedition that was failed. I mean, we're going to talk about Everest people, and they weren't like,
there's a whole, it's very much Oregon Trail where you have the option to go like down. You can like raft your like wagon down, or you can like go for a couple more days in the long route. And that's what they did. And they were like, or you can go through this valley where you might get snowed in.
Which,
that's
what happened.
They
but
took
it was
a risk.
Very snowy. It was like 24 feet, not total. It was like, that was the snow cover. Yeah. So it was very snowy. And, but no one's sure if they actually like ate people because there's no forensic evidence, only diary entries. And then people denied it like later on.
Because they ate the evidence.
And then people like they were like, when I wrote that,
I think it's just because the name of the expedition sounds like the dinner party, and so it really sticks with people. And if they just had a different name, like it was the Iasevoli caravan, nobody would even care what they did
because we'd be eating raviolis. Yeah. Okay. So then, 1845, there's the Franklin mission. You just don't name your boat Terror, basically. This was also looking for the Northwest Passage. The ships were trapped in the ice again, but this time, twist, the men died from either botulism or lead poisoning because they had canned food and they were in the ice, so they didn't have a fire.
So, by the way, the time period now, we're in the like mid to late 1800s.
I said 1845.
Got it. Okay. So this is like Victorian era,
Yeah.
in like in the like UK or whatever. The rise of all the like now famous like
Okay.
yeah
You
UK
told me to
explorers.
look it up.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
American Civil War starting up.
1909. There's this guy named Shackleton.
Wait, you just skipped you skipped all those people.
Yeah,
I
well,
was
'cause
just
who cares?
prefacing.
In 1909.
Stanley and Livingston.
I don't have him. You want to talk about him?
Yeah, real quick. We'll talk about because probably one of the most famous quotes from an explorer is from
One small step.
Henry
for
Morton
oh.
Stanley when he discovers Livingston in the Congo. So this is like it was called like the scramble for Africa happens like throughout Europe basically in the second half of the 1800s, which first starts as some explorers and then King Leopold of Belgium said he was going to unify a bunch of African tribes into like one Pan-African state. There would be a free trade zone. And the whole like concept of like neoliberalism and capitalism, they're like, we're gonna go to Africa. And it's
what happened on his mission?
Oh, he just like killed a ton of people, both in his own party and with like natives.
Did he find Africa?
So Stanley, yes, he was in Africa.
Okay.
The fascinating thing about Stanley is he was a journalist. Actually, he's from Wales, immigrated to America.
He was like, man, am I killing a lot of people?
Fought for the Confederacy in the Civil War, then became a journalist, and it was actually like the New York Telegraph was like sending him to all these places as a correspondent. So as like a journalistic scoop, he went after the British explorer David Livingstone, who had been lost in Africa for like 8 years.
He was like the original like vice intern.
He was exactly. He was the vice intern who just like he kind of tricked his employer into sending him on this trip, and he went.
He's like, sweet, bro.
He wrote a book about it and very much kind of single-handedly established the whole genre of like travel like novels, basically travel journalism. Live, Laugh, Love. It was a huge debt to
I've taken up embroidery.
To Henry Morton Stanley. His original name wasn't even Henry Morton Stanley. He renamed himself after a wealthy guy living in New Orleans when he immigrated there. By the way, everything about his life that he wrote was kind of a lie or an embellishment. He's very Donald Trump in that way. He just never stopped lying, and it eventually like kind of worked out for him.
He's a cool helmet, though. He's a pith.
He did walk around in a pith helmet. Yeah, there's a bunch of you guys can listen to other podcasts if you want like more details, but like there's a bunch of just outrageous stories that he just had like hundreds of like porters and people with him dying or people deserting, and so he would like he on his first like expedition to go find Livingstone, he like fired the cook for wasting food, and the cook was like okay and left, and he then sent soldiers like after the cook and arrested him for deserting, and then chained him.
He got his just desserts.
And then made the cook continue working for him as a prisoner, basically.
That's amazing.
He was such an asshole. He wrote eventually writing for both writing for the Herald and the New York Times. But yeah, he probably lied about that whole interaction. But his claim, which is very funny, is that when he finally meets Henry Livingstone, he's in the middle of like. Right.
Wait, he found him?
He does
David
find him on his
Livingstone?
first trip. He finds David Livingstone. David Livingstone is just hanging out, by the way. He's just like, didn't really feel like going back to England.
That's so funny.
And I'm just kind of like the local white guy. And the Africans are like, they support me, this like local tribe I hang out with. It's cool. So he and Stanley hung out for a couple months, and then Stanley went back. And Livingstone died like 6 months later. So there's no one to actually say what they said when they met each other. But Stanley wrote about it in his book, which became this, international bestseller and established the genre of travel journalism. He said that when they finally met, right, they're the only two white men for like 1,000 miles, right? And he goes, Dr. Livingstone, I presume.
Oh, yeah. That's so funny. That's very funny.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
But apparently none of them actually wrote about that. And, Henry Morton Stanley had a bad habit of destroying diary entries from dates that he later wrote about in his books when he recalled different things. But, yeah, he killed a ton of natives, and, like, everybody with him died. He may have been bisexual, they think, because he had a lot of male admirers he brought with him.
That's what happened with him, and that's what they were doing for those.
Apparently Livingstone was a father figure to him. So
Daddy.
He was an orphan and, like, grew up in a workhouse,
He's like,
which left him
"Dad."
with this inferiority complex. He's one of the most fascinating, horribly flawed explorers that we'll talk about. But enough of him. Let's continue our tour. Let's continue our exploration of these explorers.
Okay, so now we really get into the Antarctic. People are like really, really wanting to go to Antarctica, or really they want the South Pole. They want to put their flag on the pole of the South, the southernmost pole.
Oh, now we doing South Pole. Okay.
Yeah, Shackleton wants to go to Antarctica. His ship also got caught in the ice. He also built a house out of the ship. Then there are like other boats sank, and they went 800 miles in a lifeboat, like him and his crew. So like that's kind of what he did do a couple of like navigation things. So the future explorers would use his records. And
so by this time, it's I think also in part because by the early like 1900s, there's not that much left to explore.
yeah, these are the places.
Yeah,
There are like some Americans who
it gets harder and harder as people raise the bar, right? It's
Yeah.
like you're down to basically like the highest mountains, the deepest jungles, and Antarctica.
Yeah, there were some Americans who had already gone to the North Pole. That's why they didn't really care about that one as much.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this race between Robert Scott and Ronald Armisen. I think autocorrect. Roald Armisen.
Yeah.
And so Robert Scott, he'd already visited the Antarctic, but he wanted to go to the actual pole. And he was like, I'm just going to follow.
Touch the pole.
I'm going to follow Shackleton's like failed glacier route. And he's like, I'm just going to be able to do it better. I feel like everyone went that way. Everyone whose ship got caught in the ice, I'm like, stop. Just stop going that way. Just like, it doesn't work. You dumbass.
Well, I think Antarctica is especially tough because you have to, first get there by boat. And then it's like, is this landmass that is just miles of ice? And so you got to then transition. You have to like bring a bunch of dogs and a dog sled or whatever, like, once you get there.
Well, he didn't, though. He brought 30 dogs, but just like cute dogs, like probably like French bulldogs and stuff like that, like just for entertainment. He brought 19 ponies because they're smaller than horses, know. He brought motorized sledges, and he brought like a ton of his bros, and they had guest lists. They had like +1s. They had like so many ships and stuff like that, right? And then Amundsen, he was like, I'm going to try to go through the Northwest Passage instead of this stupid like glacial route thing. And I just want to go to the pole. Oh yeah, Scott had like all this other stuff that he wanted to do when he was there. He was like, I got to take a selfie. I have to, whatever. Who do you think? Come on. Oh, so like he brought the Norwegian, right? He learned from Inuits because he had done like traveling around Antarctica, and he learned from like the native people, and he like was friends with them. He was cool with them.
So Amundsen figured it out.
Yeah. He dressed in like seal skin, and he only brought like as many sled dogs as he needed.
He was Norwegian too, so he's from like a cold.
No, he's Norwegian. The other dude is British.
Shackleton's British. So
no,
yeah.
No, Scott is the one.
Okay.
Shackleton's already failed. Scott is following Shackleton's like failed route.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Amundsen pulls it off.
He puts his flag down, and then he like pieces out. He's like, we're going back. And Scott got there he got there a month later, and just like horrible. It was like almost a second Donner Party, except they had a lot more ponies, so they like ate through the ponies. There wasn't as much cannibalism. I think there was like a tad of cannibalism. Yeah. But it was really just because they brought so much dumb shit with them. It was like too much. It was too heavy and like annoying.
Okay. So Amundsen first reached the South Pole.
Yeah.
And
to go through the Northwest Passage. This like Northwest Passage that like the British.
He did the Northeast Passage.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe the Northwest.
No, he did the Northwest. He went through the Northwest to get there.
Okay.
Like he went like up and over. He was the first person to like actually go through it. That was the crazy thing. They both were like, yo, we're going to go in two opposite directions. Like the boats were like going in opposite directions when they took off, which was crazy. Like people did not put their money on that dog.
He died looking on a rescue mission for an airship, for another explorer's airship.
Yeah, because he was a cool dude. He was great. We love him.
So yeah, that's the heroic age of Arctic exploration.
Yeah. What a funny name. Then there's like Percy Fawcett. He thought there was this the city of Zed, so he must have been Canadian, I guess. Yeah, he disappeared trying to find it. Crazy people think that he went through a portal instead of just being like killed by natives. And like 100 other people have died trying to find this city of Zed, probably because they're stupid enough to go looking for it, so they die.
A British geographer. And then, famously he left. He was like writing messages to his son. He's like, I'm great. I'm doing
great.
There's some movie about this.
He's like, I'm awesome.
But then his son like tried to find his remains, and way more people have died trying to go find Percy Fawcett's remains.
Once again, because if you're dumb enough to want to go looking for this dumbass's remains, that's probably why you die.
Explore in the Amazon.
Yeah, or you go through a portal.
But they think also, probably just killed by some native tribe.
Or just, why do you have to be killed by a native tribe? I just feel like these people die because they're stupid. They're just like, death. Okay. They die of stupidity. So then we have Amelia Earhart and the dude that do you know that she was with a dude?
No, I just know about her.
Yeah, there's this dude named Noonan who is also like with her, and like not sexually with her, but just like in her plane, and he died too.
He was like her navigator.
They were like flying people. They were like flying friends. He was in the he was her co-pilot. Maybe they took turns. I don't know how that works. They crashed into the Bermuda Triangle. Their bones were found. Bones were found there on the island that they crashed, or presumably crashed. And in the 40s, forensics weren't good, so they were like, these are a male's like bones, and they were like, this is not Amelia Earhart's bones. Then they lost the bones, but they think now they're like, actually from like that data from those bones, they like recalculated it, and they're like, actually it probably was Amelia. They just like had bad.
Oh, he's a cool looking guy.
Yeah. Fred Noonan.
Fred Noonan, sort of a Clint Eastwood character.
Yeah. Well, it was the 30s, late 30s. They all kind of looked like that. So did Amelia Earhart. She also looked. What
were they trying to do? By the way, it was just sort of.
They were trying to fly around the world.
And they're flying around.
They were trying to fly around the world. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and she's not the first female pilot. She's
not explorers.
Yeah.
Not explorers. They were just trying to set a record for flying.
Yeah, I mean, and by default, they did go exploring. You know what I mean?
There you go.
They discovered the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, then we have all we have left is Everest. We've reached the peak for a mountain day. We've saved the best.
Nice.
So we have the successful, mission of.
Because by this point, it's the 1950s. There's very little left to explore.
There's space too, but we have a whole space episode, so we're not going to say anything about space because you can go listen to our
the Final Frontier.
Yeah, you can go listen to that space episode.
Yeah.
We won't say anything.
We've probably got an upcoming episode on the Beat Movement for, exploring your own
your own brain,
the American dream through the highways of America,
and through your brain on drugs. You can listen to the drug episode.
Oh yeah.
If you want to learn about that kind of trip.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they were like.
Let's close it out with old Edmund Hillary.
Well, no, Tenzing Norgay, who's the Sherpa, the awesome dude. Who's okay? So I think
you wrote his name is Norway. Your
No,
autocorrect.
my autocorrect is like so Eurocentric. It hates. Yeah, it hates.
Okay.
So, but this is what I love about Tenzing Norgay is like, yeah, look at that face. He's just like, yes. Also, he has the same birthday as me, and that is also the day that they summited. So I will, like, when you look up May 29th,
Oh, he summited on his birthday?
yes,
Oh, that's so
that's why
cute.
I love him. And when I went to see one of the Everest movies, and they like talk about him, and they talk about that, and I was like, oh my god, my birthday! I was like so excited. So yeah, I'll never forget. Yeah, they summited, and there were there was like another group that went with them, but that group was like, nah, it's too scary. And they were like, we're gonna go up this other way, and they call it the Hillary step because now that's like the more common way that you go. Um, since then, there have been a lot of a lot of people die.
I do like how Hillary was smart enough. Edmund Hillary, he's like, I got to get like a local involved in this. And yeah, Tenzing was probably like, oh yeah, we go up there all the time, but sure, we're the first
Yeah.
ones.
And you have to acclimatize, right? So you do a base camp, and then you like hang out there, and then you go up a little more, and you do another camp, so that you can like.
Sure.
So you have to time it, and then you also have to time it with like all the avalanches that are happening on there and stuff like that. But people always like May, June is like when you want to go.
Yeah, there's like a 2-month season when you have a chance to have good weather to get to the summit.
Yeah.
But,
So
if you're a Nepali Indian Sherpa mountaineer, you're probably better acclimated to like the like low oxygen levels and everything else, and you're probably used to like, I don't know, traversing mountains.
yeah, and you're awesome. Like, come on. So, just so like just in connection with Everest, which is another the 1996 disaster. I want to talk about a little bit. This is like so juicy.
These guys were not explorers. They're just wealthy people looking for adventure because they're bored with everything else in their lives.
And John Krakauer was like, I need I need something to write about.
I read that book, Into Thin Air.
Yeah. Do you? I think it was Ian Woodall is like the bad guy in the book. I'm pretty sure. I read like parts of it.
Yeah, there's definitely like one of the guys is very cocky,
and he like won't let them
Right.
use his like oxygen or whatever. He's like, no, it's mine. But he also this Ian figure. So there's a lie really that you have to leave bodies there. You can't go back. Like there's this sort of like climber mentality. Like you just leave people and you don't go back for them if they're dying. Like you don't help them. And like a lot of people say that Ian like perpetuated that because that famous like body that's on there that's like a marker. It's like Jan or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, they're like, take a left at Jan, and then the Hillary step is right there. She like Woodhull left her. Like him and his wife were climbing, and he is like, yeah, her last words were, please don't leave me. And he's like, we had to leave her. So
Yes, famously there are. I think at this point they've cleaned up a lot of them, but there used to be like
thanks to China. Did you know that?
no, there used to be like hundreds of bodies littering like the top slopes of Everest, and tons and tons of trash too, because
oxygen tanks. You would
they're
just
all
go
jerks.
like,
Yeah, because you're not going to
toss.
pack out. And the explanation I guess that Woodall like gave is that like you're on the final ascent or whatever, like your final day or whatever to get to the peak and back or whatever. It's so dangerous that it's as if you were walking on a tightrope almost. And so any delay or pause or slowing down to help someone, you're risking your own life and you might die.
What about the way down though?
So it's like same applies. Well,
Okay.
you're still not at like base camp or anywhere safe.
True.
You're still camping on the side of like a very unforgiving mountain in very low oxygen.
Oh yeah, because one of the ladies who died on that mission, I think she like was the oldest person to summit, but then she didn't make it down.
Yeah, and if anything goes slightly wrong too, like because right, if you run out of oxygen or your tank breaks or something, like you then start hallucinating and like you can't tie the specific knots you need or like do whatever physical exertion like stuff you have to do.
People have
is what
climbed
they said.
without oxygen though.
They have.
So he's a load of crap, and we don't like him. And thank you, China, because China, they lead mission. Like I don't know who in China, but like some Chinese like group leads these Everest things where the goal is not to go to the summit, but it's to clean up as much as you can. So it's thanks to them that like the body's count is down.
This is probably that's probably politically motivated because they've like occupied Tibet or whatever, and they're like, see, we're taking care of this mountain because you guys can't.
I mean, I can't find
Saying.
any other like. I've read like countless articles on this, and I can't find like any article that says it's anyone other than them. Maybe
who's cleaning it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're just like, because Tibet's part of Chinese territory. So
I mean, okay, whatever. Like, I think that sucks that it had more than 100. It was like thousands of bodies, like every year on it.
No, that's not.
I think.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
You're pulling a Henry Stanley Morton.
Wait, yeah. Bodies.
Sorry, Henry Morton Stanley.
J.P. Morgan Chase.
Exaggerating.
But in 1996.
Yeah, a lot of bodies. Don't go to Everest. You don't need to explore there. Go to space. Instead.
Oh, they have a thing of the famous bodies on
right.
Everest.
Well, we should wrap it up. We don't have to go through the bodies on Everest. We'll save that for the mountaineering episode.
But this is Mountain Day. So yeah, in 1996 though, there was like an avalanche, and there's there's two really cool movies about it, and it's so I love it. I don't know. You should watch, like, if you like that kind of thing, you should watch the movies because it's like really good. It's like live footage that they took, and like there's one lady who she has like a cough, so she doesn't want to go up the rest of the way, and she's like the only one who survives pretty much of like that group. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the safest way to climb a mountain is don't climb the mountain.
Yes.
And we
have
not in this episode, as you said, we didn't talk about space, and we have not talked about deep sea exploration.
Because we have a sea episode,
so for that,
too.
You should listen to our oceans episode to hear about James Cameron and Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that wraps up our explorers. Who do you think was the best? Who's your fave of this episode?
Ooh. Who was your favorite? Do you have a favorite? I have to go look back.
I personally really like Marco Polo.
Oh,
He's
I'm sorry.
on the Silk Road, and he's a merchant. He's doing commerce.
He loves fine fabrics.
Yeah, I feel he was just a very open-minded Italian. This may turn out to be totally untrue. Someone's probably going to write to us and be like, here's what a monster Marco Polo was. In which case, I apologize, because I don't know enough about him to know how terrible he is.
Loved water polo.
He does strike me as, the kind of explorer traveler you'd want to be. You learn about other cultures. You learn the languages. He's engaging in commerce, and consulting with and meeting all these foreign dignitaries and having these receptions and writing about it. So, yeah, I think he's been my favorite of the episode.
Oh.
How about you?
Oh yeah, Tenzing Norgay, because he's awesome. You gotta go look up his smile. He's like
great smile.
He's just like so happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like, it's me. Yeah. And they also
it's like
you can look up his signature too. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's looking like a sort of Manny Pacquiao kind of look. Non-homophobic Manny Pacquiao.
You know what? He looks like my dad's dad. That's why he looks like a young
sort
my
of
grandfather.
Sicilian.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Naples. We're like the darkest Italians.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And because it's Mountain Day, he's definitely my pick. Yeah, Everest. If I wasn't an aerialist,
he saved Edmund Hillary's life. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
specifically, he secured a rope with his ice axe when Edmund Hillary fell into a crevasse.
Yeah.
So quick thinking, he was like.
Yeah, in the Everest movie, they say if you fall into a crevasse, you'll end up in China, which.
That's in the movie?
Yes, it is. It's like one of the French ladies says. I can like quote that movie. I saw it so many times. Oh my God.
You'll end up in China because they'll carry your body out
No,
when they're picking up trash in 20 years. Is that what she's
That's what
referring
she meant.
to?
That's what she meant. That's so funny. Oh, great.
She probably did. She probably did end up in China.
She did. Oh man. Oh my goodness.
You're like, it's not a series of tubes or slides. You're just gonna be in a pit like in this mountain.
Yeah, I think they meant like you'll fall a long way. That sucks. Oh my god, falling down. That would suck. That's like the worst slide ever. Oh my
I don't know. You got mountaineering tools.
That would be
Climb
so
your way
cool
out of that.
if you came out at the bottom of the.
At the bottom of.
Because there is like a Disney ride that's like the Everest, you know, you just it is like a big slide and you come out at the bottom.
Yeah, it's like one of the Japanese game shows where you slide all the way back to the bottom or whatever and have to like climb back up.
Yeah, it's most extreme elimination.
Exactly. Yeah, the boulder challenge was extreme.
That's what it is. Yeah, run through a paper wall. But yeah, that's everything. That's everything that I have.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking this exploration of explorers with us this evening.
Yes.
This has been Question Block. We'll plug real quick our stuff coming up. Secret Loft has a comedy show this Friday, 8 p.m. That's all we got.
I'm at the Slippery Room on Saturday if you want to come see me climb some mountains.
In honor of Ariel at the Slipper Room, Secret Loft will be closed on Saturday because we're all going to the Slipper Room.
Yay!
So you're there. Are you on the early show or the midnight show?
The early. I think it's early.
Early show,
Just
9 p.m.
Come early, stay late.
Lower East Side Slipper Room. And we'll be there. And we'll be back next week at Question Block. So thanks for joining us, everybody, on the many different platforms we're on. If you're listening to our podcast on Spotify or iTunes, please leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, there is no review mechanism. Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up. And comment and share with your friends. If
you're watching this on Twitch, give us bits. Give us bits and pay
Give us your bits.
If you're watching us on Instagram, smash that like button.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
I'll play us out with another run of Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
That was a great dance remix. You know, we had to sing that for our high school graduation.
No.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to Howard University? It's a very it feels like a very soulful
We
song.
had a black music teacher.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here you go.
Or a singing teacher. We had a white music teacher.